Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Brutiful Journey, the podcast, where we talk about what it really means to care for yourself from the inside out. Self care that starts on the inside. I'm your host, Jessica Brubaker. I am a therapist by day and a personal development enthusiast the rest of the time. And today's episode is an invitation, a challenge, and maybe you're ready for a new beginning. If you're not, that's okay too. Maybe this is just a little seed in your thoughts. We're talking about something that most of us were never formally taught, but deeply crave: permission to discover who you are. And I don't mean who you're supposed to be. I don't mean the roles that you have inherited. I don't mean the version of you that everyone has kind of gotten used to. I mean the real, evolving, sometimes messy, but more often magnificent you. Let's start here. Why do so many of us feel like we need permission in the first place? I encounter so many women in my life who are stuck, not because they're not motivated, not because they're lazy, even though some people tell them that, but it's because they've spent years doing what was expected. They've mastered survival, and now they're finally ready to ask, but what about me? But then they hesitate because somewhere along the way we have absorbed this message. Don't be too much. Don't rock the boat. Be grateful. Be good. Be who they need you to be. So what happens? We shrink. We perform. We stay busy. And self-discovery, that gets labeled as selfish, indulgent, or worse, unnecessary, which is a word that kind of makes me shudder when we're talking about this. But here is the truth bomb I want you to sit with today. You don't actually need permission from anyone else to become who you truly are. But I know some of you have been waiting for it, so here it is. You have permission from me, from this podcast, but most importantly, from the future version of you that's waiting to be uncovered and discovered. Let's break it down. What does it really mean to discover who you are? This isn't about finding one neat final answer. It's about being brave enough to just ask the questions. Who am I when no one is watching? What brings me life? Or I like to say, what sets my soul on fire? What do I not want to pretend about? And maybe you're in a place where you're saying, what am I no longer willing to pretend about? It's realizing that your identity isn't fixed, it's layered, and it's allowed to evolve. You can love all the parts of yourself and still want to develop the other ones. You can be high achieving and still feel unfulfilled. You can look like you have it all together and still feel totally lost on the inside. And that doesn't make you broken. In fact, it makes you ready to stop living on autopilot, ready to reintroduce yourself to yourself, ready to claim a life that feels aligned, not just impressive. Maybe you're wondering, is this me? Am I ready for this? Let me give you a few signs that your soul is craving some self discovery. One, you've outgrown the version of you that others expect, but you don't actually know what comes next. You feel restless even when everything looks fine. You've started questioning roles, routines, or relationships that used to feel solid. You fantasize about quitting everything and starting fresh, but you have no idea where to begin. You keep saying, there has to be more than this, and you're tired of telling that voice to stop talking. Here's the thing, that voice, it's not wrong. It's not dramatic. It's not a midlife crisis. It's a wake up call. And if you're willing to listen to it, it can be sacred because you are allowed to answer that call. So, how do we actually do this? How do you give yourself permission to discover who you are Let me offer 5 shifts that you can start making today. First, trade performance for curiosity. You don't need to get this right. There's no gold star for self-discovery. If you just start asking better questions, you can follow your energy. Release the role of the responsible one. I know this one is really tough, especially if you've been the dependable one. It can feel really selfish to pause and say, but what do I want? It's not selfish, it's necessary. And I do understand that when you have people that depend on you, this might feel a little bit different. I'm not telling you to ask these questions at the detriment to the people that you're caring for. I'm asking you to ask these questions for your relationship with yourself. It's not selfish, it's necessary. Reclaim what you've silenced, the dreams that you have shelved, the opinions that you watered down, those quirks that you masked but actually really make you who you are. Bring them back. They're part of you for a reason. Sometimes this means re-engaging in a hobby that you have let go a long time ago. So that's kind of a fun way to do that. Next, normalize not knowing yet. You don't have to have a perfect plan. Discovery means being willing to sit in the unknown, in the uncertain, long enough to let something new emerge. Finally, find spaces to be the real you. It might be a journal, a friend, a therapist, or a community. Find the places where you can show up unfiltered, where your questions are welcomed, where your growth is celebrated. Because discovering who you are isn't a luxury, it's not extra credit. It's the core curriculum of living a life that feels true, of building a life that you love to live. So, what's on the other side of this work? Freedom, alignment, peace that does not rely on perfection. You can begin to trust yourself. You can make decisions that honor your values, not someone else's expectations. You'll stop apologizing for your own needs and you stop shrinking for approval of other people. And listen, I'm the first person to tell you that there's going to be hard days, but they'll be your hard days, not ones spent pretending or performing. And that difference, it's kind of everything. So, my friend, if you've been waiting for the sign, this is it. You don't have to burn it all down, but you do have to stop hiding. You're allowed to discover who you are. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to be both the masterpiece and the work in progress. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me today. If what I shared with you today resonated even a little bit, I'd love for you to share it with a friend who might need it too. And if you're craving some tools or community to support your journey, go over to brutifuljourney.com and sign up for our newsletter. I've got free resources, prompts, reflections, etc. to help you do this work, one small, brave step at a time. Because you're not too late. You're actually right on time. And you, my friend, you are worth the work. A little disclaimer. Although I am a licensed therapist, the content that is shared on this podcast or other platforms is for informational and educational purposes only. It's not a substitute for professional mental health care, diagnosis, or treatment. If you're struggling with your mental health, I strongly encourage you to reach out to a licensed mental health professional in your area. If you're in crisis or you need immediate support, please use one of the following resources. 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You just dial 988. They're there 24/7. The crisis text line. You can text the word home to 741-741. The National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE or 7233. The Trevor Project for LGBTQ plus youth, 1-866-488-7386. Or text the word START to 678-678. You're not alone. Support is available. and help is just a call or a text away. And another thing, you matter and you deserve that help and support.